Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin with the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Januszewski at the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how are you doing this week?
Doing great. How are you, Eric?
Fantastic. We have hit real summer weather now. Temperatures have hit the 90s, so I don't know what that's going to mean for July and August, but it's warm enough now.
Well, we'll see what happens. My wife has made several trips to get stuff for the yard, and it's looking lovely. I'm just watching all the things she's planted to grow, and it keeps her happy too. So it's just a gorgeous time of year. And yeah, we'll see how hot it gets. But today it's actually a little cool, so it's nice.
Nice. Well, today we've got a guest, our special guest, Liza Sivek. Liza is not only a marketing maven in her own right, but she also hosts our sister podcast, Marketing Myths and Magic, on the Xvadio network. So, Liza, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so, Liza, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you ended up running a marketing agency?
Well, I just love talking about myself, so let's jump right in. Maybe that's why I'm in marketing. I don't know. So I started out in retail years and years ago, and in one of my jobs, I ended up in a position that had to do some marketing. And this was way back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and websites were still new, when it was a big deal to see a bumper sticker with a www on it on a car. So I was learning really by the seat of my pants. There was no, major for college or classes to take yet. I had to learn Google Ads. I had to learn, how to get the ads out there and how to get the social media as it started to join the world that we all know now so well. And I really loved it. I'd always loved sales, and I always liked advertising. When I watched Bewitched as a little girl, I wanted to be Darren's job, but be able to clean the house like Samantha by wiggling my nose. So I really wanted, and I also wanted his Corvette. If anyone's ever watched that show now, you see he had a really awesome car. So we just kind of kept creating the marketing for the company and learning as the technology changed, and I ended up really, really getting to love it and understand it. And it became a passion to know more and more about it. So when that company actually closed because the owner retired and I moved on, I started taking jobs that were strictly marketing. And about, 2.5, 3 years ago, I was moving from New Haven County to New London County and decided to go freelance and remote as a marketing solopreneur. And it did so well that I'm now an agency and have contractors and an assistant that are just awesome that help me with my clients. And I wish I had done this years ago now. I feel like social media is something that I know well and do well and like to do it. And I like to do all kinds of different industries with marketing because I am a sponge when it comes to learning about new things and really enjoy that. So that's been kind of my journey as far as marketing. And as an agency, we are very committed to really showing people what they can do, that it's not just, here's a couple tactics, apply them. And that's very important to me. It's very important to me to have a service-based business that really gives service. That's my own personal principle. And that's a little bit about me.
Great. So as a freelancer, you were pretty much working virtually from the start of your marketing agency. How did you adapt to COVID? How did your clients change how they worked?
Well, it's funny that you talked about, freelancing and working remotely. I actually had to take a job as a virtual assistant through a virtual assistant company when I first went freelance in order to prove that I had the chops to work remotely. That was, back 3 whole years ago, and you still had to prove that you could do that. And no one thought that was a valid thing for a lot of people. That's changed quite a bit. My clients, I was very, very blessed that my clients were able to pivot for the most part. A couple of people did not and put things on hold, and I allowed them to do that because it was a whole new world. I wasn't really sure at first how to do this, and educational client had to shut down completely, and other clients said, "Okay, we're going to all go to webinars instead of in-person events. We're going to start doing more in social media." So it really depended on the industry. And I think that a lot of people were very, very open to making those changes because, another quick pitch for my podcast, Eric is my guest this week. And we talk about how you can't do things the way you've always done them. You never should have, but you really can't now. And there's all these changes in the industries about how to advertise to people who don't feel safe coming in. Even now, there's, a lot of people who don't want to go into showrooms until they're sure this is over, or they can't be vaccinated or choose not to be vaccinated and don't want to be at risk. And that's going to continue for a little while. So people knew they had to continue these things. They also are telling me, webinars really do work when people want to not have to leave their house. When a couple of years ago they said, "Oh, I don't want to sit in my house. I want to get out. I want to go to the bar." And now people are like, "Ooh, you mean I can just stay home after finish working, get my own beer, and then come to your webinar that would normally be at a brewery?" Not good for breweries. I'd like to get back to the breweries. But yes, it's definitely made some changes in the way they see how to market themselves and the way they are approaching their customers and their target audiences.
Yeah, and I'd imagine this change in logistics obviously has opened up new market areas, obviously, for a lot of your clients, because now you can literally go anywhere just by targeting things. And, taking a look at your diagram as far as analyzing your market, creating an action plan, and seizing leads. I mean, analyzing your marketing and your potential is, I'd imagine, a real brand new thing right now, with a lot of potential to do a whole lot more than they could have ever dreamed before COVID started.
Yes, and I think that's twofold, Chip. And one is that the audience, the customer and clients, are more apt to want to do business online. There's a lot of people that didn't do that before and now know how, or are more open to it, or are happy to have that option that they didn't have before. And there's also a lot of clients and customers and retail people who are seeing that they can sell nationally now. If they're willing to ship, or I have a medical client who's able to do curbside drop off for hearing aids. So she doesn't have to have people come in, drop it off, they go back out. They're continuing that because they see that their clientele, their patients, want that service. They're not willing to give that service up. So people have been really, in my experience, people have been very, very open to continuing some of these channels that I don't think they would have even considered before, because it would have been such a shift, possibly an expense. But when they were forced to do it, they obviously want to continue investing in the services that are working for them.
That's very true. I've spoken to a number of retailers who have said their delivery business picked up tremendously because people didn't want to come out to go to the store. And now it doesn't look like they want to give up that, even though it costs a little more. People now want to be able to just go online, put in their order, and have it show up at their house.
It may be the only way some of the mom and pop brick and mortars are going to compete as local shops with the big names like Amazon. It may be the only thing that's forced them into doing that. And I think they're happy that they did it. There's a silver lining in that part of it.
Yes, I imagine a lot of what you're doing these days is brainstorming with your clients, new creative applications for marketing and actually running their business and fulfilling what they're doing.
That's exactly right, Chip. And it's very, very right up my alley, right in my wheelhouse, if I can use a couple of really old-fashioned terms. It's very much a strength of mine and as a company that I think outside the box. Just because you are in an industry that doesn't normally use Pinterest. It doesn't mean it won't work for you. And just because you haven't targeted a particular audience before, it doesn't mean it won't work for you. And that's come in handy for me, and come in handy for my clients who are open-minded to that, because we can stretch our marketing muscle into places that maybe we didn't do before because we were too focused budget-wise somewhere else. And it allowed us to pivot, to shift to other areas that do work and find the audience where they are. And that's, you have to know where your audience is, and then you have to go to them. You can't wait around for them to come to you. I'm sure there's a great misconception for some people when they start a business, build the website and they will come. They don't necessarily come. They have to find you, and there's a lot into finding a website that's new. And we've made a lot of good inroads with post-COVID. I'm hoping we're going to get to post-COVID, that will show people new and better ways to do business online without losing the personal touch, without losing the local shoppers. You can still have foot traffic, but there's a lot more options now.
So now you just mentioned, people start a business, they put up their website, and they think if they build it, they will come. Obviously, that's not going to happen. It's hard to find a new website right now. Google has what is it? What was the last number? Hundreds of millions of websites indexed.
That's right.
What do you think is the first step for a new business to get the word out?
For me, the first step is knowing what people are searching to find businesses like yours, not just you, but businesses like yours, and using those words in your website in various forms, in the back end and the content correctly. And a marketing expert can really help with that, because there's a lot to know about that. It's not just throw a website up, mention a few things, and people will find you, as you said. But I get that a lot from small businesses and new businesses trying to break into a website business. And they don't understand that Google is searching. As you said, there's more websites than possibly stars in the sky at this point, and they feel like they're doing a good thing. They've got a good product or a good service, and it should rise to the top. And it doesn't work that way. It should maybe, but it doesn't. It's not like the ways that you put a storefront out and people see you. Oh, look, the new store opened. They're not coming down your digital road. They don't know that you're on the interwebs, and they won't even know you're there if they don't go in that direction or someone tells them to go there. So you have to put the correct digital signposts to direct people there. And to do that, you have to work with Google algorithms and Facebook algorithms and Instagram and other social medias as appropriate to get people there. And then, of course, there's making sure that you're found through advertising or through other kinds of searches. But the first thing to do is make sure that you have a valuable and worthwhile website for the client that you're trying to get to. And that's the very first step. If you don't have that foundation, and have something, even if it's one page, but that tells them who you are, what you do, and why you do it best, and then guides them there, it's not going to work to just put things on Facebook or Instagram. I wish it did, but it doesn't.
Yeah, you just mentioned the word guiding, and obviously in these times you need it more than ever. And your website talks about your virtual marketing department, a 12-month marketing program, which is obviously a combination of business building, but just training your clients as far as how to do things and how it works. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because that really caught my attention.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, that is our new service that we're offering. We have found that if you have a marketing expert who's just working on your social media and nothing else, or you have someone who's just working on an email campaign and nothing else, you're not getting the full web that supports, each part supports the other. And, depending on your budget, you may want to focus on one or the other. What I've put together over doing this for the last few years, and my experience for over 25 years in other areas, of the marketing is put together my team of contractors and vendors and the people I work with, my assistant. And basically, you can get what we call your virtual marketing department for less than the price of one full-time hire. And what I mean by that is payroll costs and the actual salary and overhead of all kinds with the hire, as all business owners know about, because you're letting us take that off your desk, manage it for you with your full input. And when you have that service, you don't have to have your receptionist or someone else in your staff wearing multiple hats who doesn't really know marketing and they're trying to figure out how to do it. You tell us what you want to succeed in your business with marketing. What's your promotions? What's your focus for this month, next month, and the month after? And we help you craft the strategy, not just tell you the tactics, but craft the strategy. And then here's the basic outline of everything we're going to do. And we're going to help you take one focus and break it down into small parts so that you can continually send it out there into the internet and bring people to your website or to your storefront or whatever it is that you're doing. So having a virtual marketing department means that you can bring in all the experts you need for your particular company without having to hire a whole marketing department for your particular company, because they are, our company helping you. And we've had great success with this in the small parts that we've done so far. And we found that a lot of people were putting in a lot of time consuming, research and trying to learn from YouTube or, kind of guessing, actually a lot of guessing, it was a lot of guessing. And some of them were educated guesses, but having done this for so many years, I can tell you there's not a lot you can just guess and be right about in marketing. It's a lot more in depth than people realize. And, if you're really good at, HR and I'm really good at marketing and not HR, why not have someone like myself do that marketing instead of trying to figure it all out, put lots of time into learning, pay someone to do it, pay someone in your staff to learn, and then not have enough time to do the job you actually hired them for. Marketing is an investment. I know a lot of people think of it as a cost, but there is a return. There is a return you get from it when you know how to do it. And I think I can help people understand what that return could be when someone who has some knowledge about it is doing it, instead of you having to suffer through trying to figure it out.
Yeah, you mentioned, putting all of the pieces together for a marketing campaign. And according to recent Google studies, 40% of small businesses still in this day and age do not have a website. How important is your website as part of that marketing campaign?
Like I said before, it's the foundation. And if your foundation is crumbling, or if your foundation is not built well, everything else will not stand up as well. A lot of people come to me and say, well, we had a Facebook page and that's really all we need. Well, no, and there's a reason why, to put it bluntly. Facebook controls that conversation. If you're using a Instagram platform to sell through an Instagram shop, Instagram is completely controlling that conversation. You want somewhere where people can come to your website, see what you're about, where you control the conversation. And you want email to support that. So you may bring them in on social media. They may want to follow you for the pictures or the comments or the humor, but you still need email to back that up. And you still need a website for them to go to, because otherwise you're completely at the mercy of the algorithms that are, basically controlled by big tech. And I think we've all seen in the news lately, there's a lot of control that big tech has over their data. That's changing, as some people may have heard, with the new iOS update and the data opt-in and opt-out through Google and Apple. And that's going to be a big change in how you target your audience. But that's a larger conversation. But if you don't have a website that you can craft, create, and design as a storefront online that works for you, you're basically giving over your entire website idea to someone else to run without any say in it. So I find it to be very important, and I let people know I don't care if you just want a one-page website to start, you have to have something.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note you were mentioning the opt-out that's now part of iOS and Android. Stats came out in the first week that Apple rolled out the ability to opt out of data tracking. 96% of users opted out of having advertisers track them. So as a marketer, you have to have respect for your potential customers' privacy. They have said loud and clear now that's important to them.
How sobering is that 96% of people on Apple, the iPhones are everywhere. 96% of your customers who are going on the phone opted out of having their data mined. And is that because we have become more savvy? Is that because we've been watching the news and the hearings on how this went for a while? Is that just because we're all tired of having certain advertisements follow us? A lot of those work. A lot of those different kinds of advertising and marketing where you're popping up in front of people and letting them know you're there, they work, but they also turn a lot of people off, which is why it's good to have an email list, et cetera, to continue to contact people in their inbox where they can choose to opt into your email, where they can choose to read your email, and you get a much better sense of, whether they're interested in what you're selling so that you can tweak your offers and tweak your business. So we're all going to be forced to do that now. It's not something that's going to be as easy as clicking all the demographics you want for a Facebook ad anymore. That's changed. You're going to be missing, as you said, 96% of the people with an iPhone. So it's going to change hugely. And there's going to be new and creative ways to think out of the box. There's also a big change this month that was finally implemented with Google Core Web Vitals about the page time for loading your website, et cetera. So there's a lot going on right now that marketers are educating themselves and paying attention to, that the average business owner, one, if you're anything like me, has very little time to go research something they don't know anything about. And two, it's a lot. It's a lot to understand and know if you don't have a background in it. So I think these changes, that should tell everyone 96%, that's just Apple. That's not even the people opting out on Google. That's huge, people. That's really huge.
And it's also important to note that relying on Facebook or LinkedIn or social media data can be, let's say difficult. And as an example, there is one company, I'm not going to name the company, but they advertise very frequently on LinkedIn. I see their advertisements constantly. Why do I see them? Because on paper, I am their ideal client. In reality, I've already used this company and fired them. Mm-hmm. So targeting me is not going to help them.
That's really funny that you mentioned that, because we were just joking the other day, my husband and I, that apparently, we didn't know this, but apparently we're going to be having a kid, because let me tell you how many ads I get because I looked up some things for a client about my newborn and formula and diapers. And I'm like, no, really, that is not in my future. I've been there, done that. They both live in a house now. Thank you. So, they're going by because somebody searched something. And if I just looked for a baby shower present, I don't want that for the next 6 weeks. I have been also getting a lot of advertisers who are cold emailing me to my website, that are letting me know they've been to my website and they see that my search engine optimization and my marketing is not really good. And could they help me? I'm like, wow, this is obviously a bot, because you are not looking at the website.
Right. Clearly they didn't read the website. And if the SEO is so bad, how did they find you?
Well, exactly. And obviously, I don't answer them because most of these people don't really exist. I get the same exact word for word email over and over and over
Yeah.
again in my inbox until I put my captcha on there with a different name and a different email attached to it. So it's a bot, and I think a lot of people are fooled by bots, and I think a lot of that's going to change with these new opt in and opt out as well.
Yeah, there was an interesting story. This is actually going back a number of years about Target using their rewards card to track what people are buying and send them advertisements for what they think are compatible products. Well, this guy
this, yes.
This guy comes into a Target store absolutely furious because his 16-year-old daughter has been getting advertisements for baby products, and they're saying she's pregnant. Well, as it turned out, Target's data was better than the girl's father because the girl was actually pregnant and hadn't told her father. And this is how he found out.
We're very sorry, everybody. The algorithms are going to out you if you've been lying to your parents about anything serious. We should just let you know that now. Yeah, I believe that she also got them for prenatal vitamins, and that's when he kind of went over the top on it. Yeah, yes. That's I remember that very clearly.
So yeah, data has always been collected by retailers, by businesses. Now it's going to be more difficult because people are opting out. They're tired of it. So when you're putting together your marketing strategy, you have to be able to reach them without relying on that data anymore.
Yes, which is why it has to be out of the box thinking. You have to look for new things. You can't always do the same old thing. You can't depend on nothing to change. And that's something we've always known in business, but we forget time to time and kind of take things for granted. But it's going to be very, very important that we look for new and exciting ways to market our businesses because the world is going to constantly change as far as technology and privacy.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's going to change is the way that people look at things as far as getting spammed all the time about things. I mean, being networkers like we all are, I mean, the one thing that's not going to change is people are only going to buy things when they need or want them. And the more you get hammered by things that you don't need or you don't want, and you just know that you're just getting hammered for the sake of getting hammered, it's just going to make them look worse and worse and worse. So it's good that we're trending this opt-out way for sure, because I just fill up my spam box just every day. I mean, it just automatically goes there. I don't even read this stuff no matter who's sending it to me unless I know them.
I agree, and that's an attitude a lot of people have.
All right, we're coming up on the end of our time. So, Liza, if somebody wants to find out more about Liza Sivek Marketing and possibly hire you, how can they do so?
Well, they should absolutely contact me if they have any questions. I'm always happy to talk to people. And that doesn't mean it's a sales pitch. We can have a conversation. My website is LizaSivekMarketing.com, and my Instagram and my Facebook are the same. Instagram, I have underscores between the three words, but everything else is all one word. And check it out. Book a call with me if you have any questions that we talked about or are interested in anything on my website. I'm happy to talk to you. And you can also email me at Liza, that's Liza, like Liza Minnelli, at LizaSivekMarketing.com.
All right. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway for our listeners this week?
Well, I'm putting on my business hat because I do a lot of business consulting, looking at organization and operations. And basically, when I'm dealing with clients, I tell them to look at things that they're good at doing and then subbing out the rest and getting rid of the rest. I'm talking about payroll and insurance and accounting and things like that. Obviously, one of the biggest things you need is business development. And what most businesses do is they're looking at a way to cut costs, but they're not looking at ways to increase the top line. And that's what you're talking about. So I love the concept of subbing out business development because it is something that you specialize in. And if you can put a fixed cost on that and you can get a return on the top line, it's a great thing to do. So love what you're doing. Keep it up.
Thanks.
Absolutely. I think for me, the big takeaway is that you have to keep looking at different ways to do things. You can't rely on data mining anymore, so you've got to adapt, put together a system, and follow through.
That's the truth.
You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week, as well as the Marketing Myths and Magic podcast at xvadio.com/podcasts. You can also find us on the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.